Marketing is filled with all kinds of metrics that do not mean anything. I like to call them vanity metrics, call them whatever you want, but they don't mean anything. And email marketing is not immune to this. Our special guest today is an email list growth coach for entrepreneurs. We're going to dig into what email marketing metrics really matter so that you can actually get actionable data to make great decisions. Hi, I am Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing, where we believe you must remove your revenue roadblocks if you want to accelerate revenue growth. I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. Really excited to have with me Kendra Corman. She's a email list growth coach, marketing strategist, consultant. Kendra, thanks for being here and taking the time.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, I'm looking forward to digging into this because as we were talking about before we went live and started to record today, so many people are not talking about this. And I'm not quite sure why. Do you have any idea why?
Because it's not easy. Open rates and vanity metrics are easy.
Yeah.
And they're easier to control, for lack of a better term. And it shows progress, and it gives people a story to share that while they may not understand it, it's easy.
Well, I can't wait to dig into it. I want to ask you some rapid fire questions first. Are you ready to rock?
I'm ready.
Okay. When you're not working, how do you like to spend your time?
Reading and traveling.
Traveling anywhere in particular?
No, anywhere.
Anywhere.
I'll go anywhere.
Anywhere but here. What's your hidden talent?
Oh, that's a good one. I usually say making wine disappear from a bottle. That's what
that kind of remind. Who is it that sings the country song? Is it Kelsey Ballerini that sings the song about "There's a Hole in the Bottle"?
Oh, yes.
You'll have to listen to that one.
I can't think who sings it.
I think that's what it is. I don't know. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
So when I was much younger, I was at an event for Chrysler, and the head of HR said, if you don't have what you need for the job that you want, skill-wise, volunteer and get it.
That's a good one. How many times have you done that?
All the time. That's how I got all my promotions at Chrysler, was through people seeing me in volunteer roles in the company, not just externally for nonprofits and stuff. I volunteered to do projects with other departments, and
just so you could learn,
get the experience.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, it's fantastic advice. I think it's human nature for us to think short term, which makes taking that advice very difficult.
It is. It is. But I'll tell you that it's revolutionized my career back when I was, working for people before I started my own business. And then it revolutionized my business. Like, it helped me grow leaps and bounds because I was helping nonprofits with advice and my expertise. And then all of a sudden they're like, we need more. And I was like, okay.
You find that by doing that, it also helped boost your confidence?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Because once you see the results, then you're like, oh, I'm pretty good at this.
Yeah, I can do this. What's one thing about you that surprises people?
So I was actually asking my husband that one. He gave me a couple of one, but I'd say I'm actually truly an introvert. So I'm an outgoing introvert because I moved 9 times growing up. So I had to be outgoing, but I recharge all by myself.
It's so many. I would say probably half the people I ask this question to say that, and it's fascinating because so many people, I think, look at people that speak publicly or just do things to put themselves out there and assume that they're extroverts, and it's not about being an introvert or an extrovert. Is not. It's about how you recharge, like you said. Yep. It's not about how you put yourself out there. So thank you for sharing that. What does success mean to you?
Flexibility.
Where's your happy place?
Vedanta in Mexico. It's a resort chain.
The Donta. I've never
Mhm.
heard of it.
You got
The
to Google
Donta.
it. My
Donta.
father-in-law has the timeshare there, and I go every year. I will not give it up
Okay,
ever.
so the Donta, is that Danta?
Vidanta.
Oh,
Vedanta.
Vedanta. Okay. Vedanta. Okay, I'm checking it out.
It's awesome.
What qualities do you value in the people you spend time with?
Honesty, I think, is the number one, and then authenticity. I don't want to spend time with people that are fake.
Before we jump into email, tell us a little bit more about what you're doing. Who are you helping? How you doing? How you helping them? All that good stuff.
So I'm helping entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and there's people looking to grow their email list, improve their marketing. As you've talked in a previous podcast episode, there are people who are cutting back on marketing. They're, not necessarily investing in it, or they are trying to do more themselves. And so I work with people to help coach and guide them so that they're doing good marketing,
Yeah,
and investing in the right places and have a resource to go to. So I have online courses and a coaching program.
got it. Cool. So let's talk about email. Um, why does email open rate no longer matter? And I think a lot of people will think about this question and go, "What? What are you talking about?" Because that is honestly the first metric that everybody goes to.
Everybody.
Why do we need to like disregard this at this point?
So a couple things. First off, what an open is it's not someone being able to see that you double clicked it and opened it in your Outlook or your Gmail or anything like that. What it is it's a message to the server that you downloaded the images. So if there's images somewhere in your email, then it's downloading them, and that is considered an open. Well, to help people with the mail privacy protection, which is a MPP, which is a program that Apple rolled out in their iOS 15 update, they are pre-opening your emails so that people like me who are doing email marketing can't see what device you opened it on, what time you opened it on, how many times you opened it. They don't want me getting any of that information. And so they've allowed people to opt in to mail privacy protection, or MPP. And I think it was, last count was like 80% plus had opted
Opt
in
in.
if they were given that option. And over 60% of emails are received on a Apple iOS device. So if you have iOS 15 or higher, you've probably opted into it, and Apple is pre-opening your emails.
Got it. So shows as an open doesn't necessarily mean anybody has opened it. So
Nope.
it's almost like it's a false positive.
Mhm. Yes, definitely.
How so iOS 15, do you remember how long ago was this?
September 2022 is, I think, the full rollout is where it,
Okay.
like, really, so it hasn't been too long, but it started in I can't remember if it was late 2021 or 2020, early 2022,
Yeah.
but it hasn't been too long.
Well, and I love how you answered, why are people not talking about this? Um, because this really does open up a huge can of worms with email marketing metrics and what you should actually be doing. Let's peel the layers of the onion back a little bit there. What, like, now that we know this, if this is the first time you're hearing this, like, what the heck are we supposed to do? I mean, that's not a reliable metric anymore.
Which at first I was like, "Oh, seriously?" But then I was like, I thought about it, and so basically I just have to improve my email marketing so that people want to engage with it.
Hmm.
That's the key, right? That's the ultimate goal. Depending on what research survey you look at, email marketing return on investment is anywhere between $38 and $42 for every dollar you invest in it.
Yeah,
It's one of the highest return on investment marketing tactics you can have. So why waste time looking at things like an open rate when I can be looking to see how many people clicked, how many people converted, how many leads did I get? How is my list growing? Where's my unsubscribes at? When you really look at quality metrics, you do better marketing
Right.
because people will tell you what they want to hear, what they want to see, what they want to read, and they control it by interacting with it.
Yeah, it would seem to me that clicks is that first strong signal of engagement.
Yes.
Not that they've
Not
just
click rate,
read it, they got to click.
clicks.
Yeah,
Clicks, because click rate is a percentage of opens. So if you've been tracking
correct.
your email marketing all along, your open rate's been going up since iOS 15 and your click rate's been going down
Yeah,
because more opens are
yeah.
happening, so your rate's going down.
Well, so you could also look at, rather than click rate, you could look at clicks as a percentage of total send, right?
Yep.
That's
Or total delivered.
Yeah, something like that is probably a much more reliable metric. From a conversion standpoint, if you're going to do that, that's going to get a little bit more uh, complicated, right? Because now we need to start looking at how we can follow the action from email to wherever they're going, right?
Mhm.
So it's possible, but you need to take the time to actually set it up.
Yes, exactly. But again, it's all coming down to quality now. You
Yeah,
have to have more interesting subject lines. You have to have more interesting content. You have to be more focused on value than ever before because you used to be able to just say, "Oh, look, all these people opened. Yay."
yeah,
They didn't do anything with it because some people were phoning it in or they weren't being consistent with their emails and people were accidentally opening it and then deleting it.
yeah. So we need to focus on engagement. We can focus on engagement with a focus on quality, adding value. If we're going to get clicks, we need to have calls to action of some kind, right?
Yep.
What do you um what do you think of HTML based email versus text based?
So that's a really great question. I was doing text only emails for a little while, and then I decided to test out something that I'd heard that people were having success with, and that was adding a GIF or a GIF, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
But a GIF, I call it a GIF,
I do
a
too.
GIF in my email, and my engagement actually went up. People enjoy seeing a little bit of your personality and engaging with GIFs, which is pretty funny. Um, but I do believe that simpler is better. People feel that it's more personal. An overly designed email gets, in my experience and with all of the email accounts that I manage for my clients, they get less engagement overall.
Got it.
So
Because
I'm
I
a big
know
fan of simple.
and for those of you that don't know, I don't want to assume HTML based email is just the pretty looking email, right? It's
Mhm.
formatted. You can put buttons, you can put images, whereas text just removes all of that formatting and it's extremely simple. You can't, I don't, in a text based email, you can't even hyperlink, can you? You
You
just put
can.
the link.
You can
You
put the
can hyperlink.
link. Some of them you can, depending on how it's set up in the email marketing system that you're using,
Yeah.
you can sometimes hyperlink, but not a lot of stuff.
I know some of the with text based, you lose some of the tracking capabilities, do you not?
Um, sometimes it
Yeah,
depends. Again, it depends on the email marketing system and
right.
what they're putting in on the back end because there is a level of tracking on the back end. But again, you've lost a lot of the tracking outside of the clicks
Anyways,
anyway. So depending on what you're doing on your buttons or with your links, if you're using, UTM codes and things like
right.
that to track from the email performance, that's all still there.
Got it. Okay. So I'm hearing you say simple. You did say something key that's easy for people to overlook. test. Just
Mhm.
test it.
Yep. Got to
Send some
test it.
text, see what happens. Send some HTML and see how your list responds. I think it's by testing, you find what people on your list engage with.
And that's
And
key.
yeah,
Exactly what you're saying. Because, yes, my people were engaging more with gifts. That doesn't mean yours will,
right.
right? It's all unique to your audience and what they want to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember where I heard this framework, but it always stuck with me with marketing is just you test, you measure, learn, and you just wash, rinse, and repeat.
Mhm.
You're never done because it can always be better. So I love that. So what metrics should we be looking at? We started to talk about this, but I just want to make sure we're not missing anything here. Clicks, definitely super important.
Yep. Total clicks, unique clicks, those are very good ones. They do give you a little bit of insight. So again, total clicks is if you have 2 calls to action in an email and I click on both of them, that's 2 total clicks, but only
Right.
1 unique click. So,
Okay.
you wanna take a look at what that's telling you and how your email marketing system is giving you that information. So clicks is really important. I like to track my list size and list growth and my unsubscribes. Now, I'm not saying, and we were talking a little bit about this before we started recording, I'm not saying that, oh, you want like a million people on your list. Odds are you probably don't, because you're going to be paying way too much for that email list and
Yeah.
not that many people are going to be engaging with your stuff. But you do want to see that it's headed in the right direction, that you're growing and not shrinking,
Yeah.
unless the shrinkage is strategic. My email list shrunk for a little bit when I changed from full service agency to more of the coaching and consulting. And that I viewed as a good thing because I wanted it to go down and then I wanted it to go back up, and which is where it's been headed for
Yeah.
the last year or so. And that's really important. So I like to look at list growth and size. I like to look at unsubscribes. Are the unsubscribes going up?
Hmm.
Who's unsubscribing? Do I know them? Have I interacted with them? Why is this no longer relevant to them?
Yeah.
And sometimes, again, it's a good thing and I'm okay with it. But you do still want to look and see if you're getting spikes and unsubscribes when you're doing other kinds of content and other types of marketing information. Clicks, like I said, deliverability. Deliverability is a big one
Yeah.
because they can't click it. They can't, in reality, in real life, open it, right? If it doesn't make it to the inbox. And so you want to check your deliverability. So that's the number of sends. And then you want to take out the ones that end up as spam or undeliverable and things like that. And you
Okay.
want that to be as high as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And then
as few emails going to spam or showing undelivered as possible.
exactly.
Okay.
And then I like to look at the number of leads generated. Usually I can tell with a lot of leads from my emails because people reply back. That's a
Okay.
really good sign. If people start replying to your emails, it doesn't show up as a click and things like that, but it shows up as a conversation. And so I
Hmm.
like to note those and keep track of that also. And then I keep track of notes. What was I testing? What was I talking about? Just a couple of bullet points on each email so that I can start to see trends in the content that I'm sending and what people are interacting with and what they're not.
Got it. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you some of the more common questions that come up with email. Um, how often should I be sending email?
I love that question. That's actually one of my favorite questions because it's like most questions in marketing, it doesn't have an answer.
Yes,
So I
which is
send
why I
week
asked.
Yes. So I send weekly. Amazon, I think, and some other online retailers, they send daily. They can get away with it. Most of my clients send once or twice a month. It depends on the level of content and the amount of value that you can add for your audience and how much value they really want from you.
Right.
Um, as long as you define that up front as to what you can consistently deliver, that's your frequency. Most business to business organizations, I tell them usually once to twice a month is enough. You just want to stay top of mind. If you're trying to drive online business and online sales and e-commerce,
Yeah.
well, then once a week is probably your minimum.
Yeah. I love that. It's a fantastic answer. I think understanding your list and what their needs are super important. I'm just going to give a few examples here. Recently for me, and I'm going to leave the company names out because I don't want to disparage anybody here. But I let's say you need tires. Okay, you go in, you buy tires. I don't need a freaking email from the place I bought tires 2 or 3 times a week. I don't even need one once a month. Okay. I just bought tires. I'm not in the game here. Like, I don't want your emails. And what happened is I unsubscribed. Now I may have stayed on the list had they done it at a slightly different frequency, or if they were sending out better information. But everything I got was a discount package on new tires. It's like, guys, I just bought new tires. What the hell? So they're not segmenting their list at all. So they have no idea. It's like I just went into the general mass list. Huge mistake, I think. And two, I might have stayed on the list if maybe like once a month I was getting something on tire tips. Like, what should I be doing to make sure that my tires last 50,000 miles and not 20? They were just sending out too frequently, wrong type of information, didn't segment. Any thoughts you want to add to that?
No, I mean, that's a perfect example of not doing email marketing well. They're just and they probably are getting a response from it because you're on their general list.
Yeah,
So they think it's working. But again, if you're tracking your unsubscribes and you see that everybody that just joined your list is
is
unsubscribed,
unsubscribing.
that tells you something, right?
Right. Yeah, I think there's so many. I mean, it's a big company. I mean, I don't know how many emails they're sending out, but it's got to be a heck of a lot, like you said. Um,
And I
it's just a
think
waste of an
so.
email subscriber.
Right. Well, and think about it from the sending perspective. What was in it for you? When I was writing it, I need to be thinking about you, right?
Hmm.
So what am I creating that's in it for you? If there's no value for you in it, then I shouldn't be sending it.
Right.
I need to think about what value you need to see. And, if it's tire tips or just regular maintenance tips or anything related to that could be
Right.
good. Or even like a weather notification, right? Like,
I
hey,
know.
roads are going to be bad today.
It could be honestly even like, look, we all drive different amount of miles, but even if they just said, well, we're just going to send out reminder messages for the average number of miles that people drive, like that would be helpful for me. Like,
Mhm,
hey, the average person drives X amount of miles. You need to rotate your tires every 5,000 miles. You might be getting close.
mhm.
If you are, come in and schedule a rotation. I mean, something like
Yes.
that's not difficult.
And here's the thing, because they weren't sending you value and relevant content, then they lost their opportunity to contact you by email again because you
Right.
unsubscribed. Unless
Yeah.
you go in and, like, resubscribe, which usually you have to jump through a bunch of hoops to do.
Yeah.
But they've lost you now as an opportunity to communicate with you. There's a lot of value lost there.
Right.
A lot of value lost.
A ton. Well, and most marketers that you talk to um, that are heavy into email all say like your business is all about your list.
Mhm,
It is all about the list. Like they'd rather like start over completely. As long as I can keep my list, I'll start over.
mhm.
Because there's so much value in that list. So it's worth taking the time to do the best you can to maximize that asset. And
Well,
like you touched on, the return on email is so strong.
and if you think about email, think about it when you get home and you go to the mailbox and you take out the junk mail and you go, right? And then you go and you check your inbox in your email inbox. You're not as accepting of emails that are there that are waste of time. You
Mhm.
get too many emails to want to deal with that. Email is highly personal and it's permission based when done well. So you need people's permission. And when they take away that permission, that's telling you that what you're sending is no longer valid or no longer valuable to them.
Yeah.
And that's something you need to think about. And again, it might be by design and that's okay. But
Right.
you need to make that decision because you don't want to lose it. I am a big believer of the fact that your email list is your business's greatest asset.
Yeah.
It is your existing customers, it is your prospective customers, it's your funnel.
Mhm.
You know, as we move into some uncertain times, the people that have a solid email list are going to survive better and thrive better because they can make money by offering things to their email list.
Mhm.
It, you know, it doesn't matter. They're checking it every day. I think it's something like 99% of people check their email every day. It's ridiculously high.
Yeah.
So they're seeing it. Make sure it's valuable.
How do you feel about we've touched on unsubscribes a little bit. There seem to be two camps with unsubscribes where you just one camp it just hey leave people on and let them unsubscribe themselves. There's other people that feel like you should actually unsubscribe people that aren't active on your list. Um, with a lot of times people base this on open rate. Uh, Knowing what we know now and what we've talked about, like how do you feel about managing the people on your list that are not active?
So I call it list hygiene, so
Yes.
cleaning up your list, and it's when you're clean you have to clean up your list because if you are sending out, we'll say you've got a list of 2,000 people, right? You're sending out 2,000 emails a week, we'll say. If only 3 people are interacting with it, that's sending signals to Google, Yahoo, AOL, Microsoft, everybody, right?
Yeah.
Everybody that's receiving the emails. So the different end of the email marketing system, right? The
Yeah.
email receiver. It's sending them a signal that your content isn't valuable to the people that are getting it, which increases the amount of times it gets moved into spam and junk and
Yeah.
things like that. But
So
you're right. With opens, it's a lot harder to identify it. The last time I did an email, list cleanse, I do it about every 6 months. I still based mine on opens, even though I didn't get everybody, because the clicks just aren't there yet
yeah.
to that extent, because I don't necessarily know if somebody moved my email into a reference folder or something along those lines. Those are a
Right.
lot harder to find. So I've started even if you just start cleaning your list still using opens, even though you won't get everybody and you'll still leave some people on your list who aren't engaging,
Yeah.
I think that's okay right now, as we work harder to, again, create more engaging content to drive to those clicks and get that interaction. One of my podcast episodes, we were talking about interns, and 2 people actually called my guest and said, "Hey, we heard you on Kendra's podcast," and I doubt that they actually heard it on the podcast. I think they actually like read it in the show notes in the email
Yeah.
and they contacted the person. They didn't click on anything. But yet they're listening and reading.
Mhm.
So I would have lost them had I just like removed them.
Yeah.
So I encourage people to, for right now, use opens. And then as you create more engaging content and as your clicks increase and your replies increase and the overall engagement with your content increases, that's when we'll start changing how to do that. Because unfortunately, right now, we still have to use opens for
Yeah.
some things.
Yeah. I think like you said, you might be missing some people that aren't engaging, but it's the only real good metric you can use right now for that, I think.
Mm.
Um, because the flip side of this is look, you're anybody between 5 to 10% of your audience is ready to buy at any given point in time. And that's one of the great things about email is it just helps you stay in front of those people and continue to nurture and build that relationship. There are honestly, there are lists that I have been on for multiple years, and I started doing business with those people. But if I had been unsubscribed from their list because I was showing that I wasn't opening, they would have lost me. But
Mhm.
guess what? Just because I wasn't opening, I didn't need it all the time. But guess what? I still saw them in my inbox. I had to actually just swipe the email or delete the email, but I still saw them,
Mhm.
and just wasn't super appropriate for me right at that point in time. But I still wanted to stay on the list. So, or you talk about replies, Kendra. How many times has somebody replied that like you haven't heard from in a year or two? You're like, oh yeah, gosh, yeah, I remember that
Often.
person. So
Often.
we never know when that need is going to arise and they're actually going to respond and reply. So it's it's important to clean out the list, but I think we also need to be cognizant of finding, I guess, that balance where
I'm a little more on the conservative side when it comes to cleaning the list.
yeah,
So if you can use a number that's going to include or exclude more people off of the, hey, do you still want to hear from me?
right,
That's the number you want to use because, again, you don't want to make those judgments for people.
right,
You want them to be able to go in and see what they want to click on and what they want to engage with. And even just seeing your name
right.
keeps you top of mind. And
It
that's
does.
what's really cool about email marketing and part of the return on investment it provides.
How you touched on list size a little bit. What are your thoughts? I mean, like, how big of an email list do we need? How long does it take to start building a meaningful email list?
So I love what you said right there, meaningful. Okay. So, yes, my dad is on my email list and he replies and then clicks on my stuff. Okay. My dad is not going to be buying anything from me. Okay. Now, it's still good that he's on it because then he can tell people about it. But again, it's not going to result in a sale or a marketing coaching session because,
Right.
I mean, let's be honest, we can do that at Thanksgiving dinner. But it's what it comes down to is you want people on your list who are prospects. You're nurturing that contact and building that know, like, and trust factor with them so that they eventually buy from you. If you have a list that if you're like, "Yes, I have 10,000 people on my list." Great. How many are your actual target audience? How many are in a place that they can or will eventually be in a place to buy from you? Those are the important questions you need to be able to answer. And I mean, I know people that have made $10,000 off of selling to an email list of less than 200 people. Now, I like 1,000 to 2,000 to be, in a really good place because the conversion rate's usually fairly low,
Yeah.
especially just from a direct email.
Hmm.
But you really want you need quality people on your list. Even if you're just starting with 20, it doesn't matter. As long as they are in your target audience and can eventually want to do business with you,
Yeah.
that's the key. So it's always quality over quantity. And I like to judge myself against myself. So I set a everyone's like, how big should my list be? How many, clicks should I have? I want more than I had last week.
Yeah. Yeah. So it
That's
goes
that's
goes
my
back to the
goal.
list growth.
And as a key performance indicator, it starts to indicate if my list is growing, that indicates positive things for me and my business. If my list is declining, then I have to start questioning, okay, what am I not doing enough of? Why
Right.
are they not finding that valuable? And it's a really good thing because it indicates to me what my pipeline's going to look like.
Hmm. Yeah. There's all kinds of ways to build lists. Can you share some of your thoughts on list building? Because a lot of people are like, okay, great, I need to start building my list. What's the next step? What do I need to do?
So, my favorite way to grow a list is really and truly by providing value. Look at that person's email address as payment for something. So if it's payment for a discount on your website or payment for what I like to, downloadables or freebies or whatever you want to call them. Those are really where I like to start from growing your list. If you can give people value, solve a problem for them, and help them, deal with something that they're struggling with,
Yeah.
that again builds that know, like, and trust factor. And then you can continue the conversation with them and nurture that relationship. Marketing comes down to relationships,
Yeah.
business to business, especially, but business to consumer too. What you think of the company and the relationship you have with that company, whether or not it's like a person or a big company, matters. So it really comes down to relationships and the opportunity to build that relationship. So if you can give somebody a quick win with a checklist or a how to guide or 5 steps to X, Y, or Z, you can show them that you're knowledgeable, that you have expertise, and you can help them to
Yeah.
the point where they're like, oh, I want to hear more from this person. And that it just has so much value to it. So usually when it comes to list growth, I encourage people to create a download. I usually encourage people to start with a PDF because it's usually one of the easiest ways to do it,
Yeah.
and to put it on their website, put it on their social media profiles, everywhere that they go, so that way they can market it. Especially if you've got speaking events, have a follow-up resource for people
Yeah.
and give them an easy to use URL that they can just type in after that speaking event. And again, it converts them into people that you can build a relationship with and nurture. And that's what's really important.
So what I'm hearing you say is we don't need to overcomplicate this. This does not have to be some huge funnel and you got a class or whatever. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. It just needs to be valuable. Frankly, I think the easier it is to use and consume, the better
Mhm.
in general. So I love that. So, and as we start to close things out, we're going to give you guys some links here. You want to go see a downloadable, then you can go to these links and just see what Kendra and I are doing, and take what you will from it and use it yourself. So, do you have any last minute thoughts you want to leave us with today, Kendra?
I think the biggest thing that I wanna share is to just make sure that you are constantly improving and adding more value as you go. Again, most of my clients and students with email marketing, I'm always telling them, "Let's look and see where you're trending. I wanna see where you're headed." Don't do comparisons, you and somebody else. You don't know where they're at. You have no idea the quality of their list. Like, I was at a networking event and they had 10,000 people. Yeah, who were those 10,000? Were they buying from them? How are they doing? And people don't know. You just don't know someone else's situation. So don't get into a comparisonitis situation. Take a look and make sure that you're doing better from week to week or month to month. And that's really the key to all of it.
I love that advice. Not comparing yourself to others is one of the principles that is on my refrigerator that I share with my kids every dang day. Um, it's so hard for most of us. We just got to remember because most of the time we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg, right?
Mhm.
It's like we see people, especially as entrepreneurs or business owners, you see somebody and you're like, oh my God, they're killing it. Like it happened so fast. No, it didn't. We're not seeing all the work that they put in for years, right? So, man, just stop
Exactly.
comparing. We don't
Well,
know what anybody else's situation is. So I love
and
that.
and not just that, they look like they're killing it.
Yeah, they might look like they're killing it, right?
They might not be.
No, they might
Like, I
not.
was actually shocked to learn that somebody that I had been comparing myself to, because yes, we are all guilty of it, even though I'm gonna
Yes, we
tell you
are.
not to do it, right? Do as I say, not as I do. Uh, I was comparing myself to somebody, and then I was in a couple of meetings, and I realized she's not doing quite as well as I thought she was. Now, that's not meaning she's not doing well,
Yeah,
but I had put her up here,
yeah,
and she's more at my level.
yeah,
And I was like, "Oh." Interesting to know.
Yeah, I love that. Where can people learn more about you? And by the way, this is one of those links that I was talking about a couple minutes ago. So
Yeah, so they can visit kendracorman.com. If you go to kendracorman.com/1000, the 1000, you can get my guide. It's 7 steps to growing your email list, and it will hopefully help you take a different perspective on how you're moving forward with email marketing, and hopefully give you a head start and a jolt to get you thinking about it and get you doing it on a more consistent basis.
awesome. I love it. Head on over there, kendracorman.com/1000. We'll make sure that's in the show notes. I hope you realize after we've finished this conversation that Kendra knows what she's talking about. Kendra, thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it. And I know people got some value from this. Those of you that are watching, listening, thank you for doing so. Here's another downloadable link. Go to revenueroadblockscorecard.com. There you will be able to discover and assess which of the 9 revenue roadblocks are slowing down your business growth. It takes less than 5 minutes. If you want to connect with us, you can also do that at our website at rialtomarketing.com. Thank you guys so much, Kendra. Thank you. Till next time, take care.